Hey everyone, welcome. I'm going to be introducing the session today. If you all don't know me, my name's Abby Bullard. I'm the development manager at Atlanta Contemporary. Please go ahead and just keep yourselves on mute for the kind of like interim, just so that way everyone can hear. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll make sure that Dianna can answer them for you. So I'll just get started. Okay, so Dianna just joined us. We're so excited to have you. Welcome to the Studio Artist Program. I hope that your transition and move-in has been smooth and that you're settling in well. So welcome to the studio. Dianna Settles is a Vietnamese-American artist in Atlanta, Georgia, who received her BFA from the San Francisco Art Institute in 2014. Her current work explores moments of joyful stillness amidst the cascading series of crises called modern life, accomplished through her synthesis of traditional Vietnamese and classical European painting styles. Recent exhibition highlights include the two-person show, The One That Got Away, at Dela Plane in San Francisco, California, her solo show, 99 Flowers, at Versa Gallery in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and participation in Of Origins and Belonging at the High Museum of Art here in Atlanta. As the inaugural artist of Living Walls International Exchange Program, she completed a 180-foot-long mural to Our Friends Nos Amis in Paris, France in July of 2019, adding to her portfolio of work as a muralist in Atlanta, Oakland, and Pittsburgh. She was a finalist for the 2019 Forward Arts Foundation Edge Award and was recently accepted into our program. Currently, she is preparing a large portfolio of new paintings for upcoming shows, including an exhibition with Gerald Lovell and Jurel Cayetano at Mint Gallery in Atlanta, and a solo show at Institute 193. In addition to her own practice, Dianna runs High Low Press, a print studio and art gallery in Midtown Atlanta, which is home to Drag Figure Drawing Nights, the Atlanta Paint Club, and the 1843 Robert Meyer Parks Lithography Press, and regular poetry readings, film screenings, dance parties, potlucks, and a variety of other events and workshops. Really, really talented. I remember working with her on a mural for Living Walls several years back, and it was so much fun. So very talented. I'm excited to hear more about what you've been up to. I'm going to go ahead and drop your website link in the chat as well. So if anyone's curious to kind of peruse her website and get to know her more from that angle, feel free to explore the chat. So I'll throw it to you, Dianna.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing me, Abby. I feel really thankful to be here and to get a chance to participate in the open studios and the COVID version, nice and safely distanced. This is my first time ever having a studio that I can just like spread my art supplies out in and like work on things and leave them in states of like unfinished to like come back to, and it's been really, really incredible. I'm a little nervous, but I'll get over it. And I'm going to talk briefly about the work that I'm making and kind of like the milestones and like what's gotten me to this point. And I would love for this to feel more collaborative. So if people have questions, I would be really happy to answer them. I have the chat thing open on my screen, which is partly blocking my cheat sheet of things that I don't want to forget to talk about. So we'll see. Yeah, like Abby said, I studied printmaking in school and also focused on art history. And I actually took one painting class and I really didn't do well in it. It felt really overwhelming to me. And as a printmaker, there's such a particular series of steps that you need to do in order to get any sort of thing that resembles what you were hoping for in the end. And so being at like a conceptual art school and in one of the painting classes, it was very just like, just do something, just like put something on the canvas, which felt completely ridiculous to me. And I wound up actually convincing that professor to just let me do lithography. And I wound up like lithoing onto quilts for that, not painting at all. But in 2014, I went to Vietnam, which is where my father is from. And it was my first time ever visiting there. And being in different museums and galleries and workshops, I experienced this thing in a really concrete way, where I was suddenly surrounded by images of people who I could see myself in all of these different kind of activities, both like grand and completely banal. And it was something that like crystallized something that I was aware of abstractly, being in art school and kind of understanding the ways that white supremacy and like colonization has influenced the art world and the kinds of things that we get to interact with in most museums. Before being there, a lot of the time, if I was able to see any figures who looked like me in works, it kind of was like either a very like passive role or something that felt really fetishized, and neither of those felt very good. And so while I was there, I was in Vietnam for a month, and I kept a notebook and was kind of constantly making these sketches and writing down color palettes. All of my printmaking work before this was just black, like not colorful at all. And so I felt really excited to try and figure out like how to incorporate all of these colors into what I was seeing. And the parts that felt really interesting to me were the more like clumsy synthesis between like the flatter, like traditional Vietnamese painting styles and then the influence of the European canon and colonization. As like a mixed race person, I've always felt like very much caught between two worlds, like existing in this sort of liminal space. And my first paintings, I wanted to kind of like transfer that experience of like being able to see yourself in like these different moments to other people. And at first that meant all of my paintings were just Asian and other like non-white femme presenting people in like various configurations where most of them were just kind of chilling out. And it was because of the realization that for a lot of people who don't have like the access of power and resources, that just existing is kind of a defiant or radical act. For a lot of people who don't have money, who don't have status, who don't have the same sort of privilege, that a lot of the people kind of calling the shots in different institutions have, life is hallmarked by these things like scarcity and uncertainty and suffering and hunger. And I have experienced a handful of these things, like having grown up really poor and growing up in like a very small rural Georgia, very white conservative town. And there's a number of things in my life that I feel like kind of caused me to disassociate and things like that, that just feel, I don't know, pretty miserable in some ways, which I think is interesting, like, especially now, like, given the state of the world just through COVID, and having to kind of like reconceptualize all the ways that we spend time together and our routines. It's kind of put things under the microscope of like what actually brings joy and what things like we can do without and not miss at all. But I recently found out this word that I'm really excited about, which is proprioception. And as I understand that, it's kind of like the opposite of disassociation. It's what puts you into your body. And for me, the things that put me into my body are like figuring out how to inhabit and like build worlds with people who I care about. And those it isn't like a super grand gesture. A lot of the time for me, what that looks like is like cooking meals and like sharing food with friends, or being outside, or reading together, or laying around. And I feel really excited to be able to put these moments into the paintings that I've been doing. And they kind of wind up existing in a lot of ways, like collages of things that have actually occurred and like potential for other things. So I am constantly like taking photos and making little notes and drawing, and like my phone has 14,000 photos on it right now, and it works really slowly because of that. But I'm, I'm excited to get to notice these different things that kind of like pull me back into these moments where I'm thinking about the people who I love and the people who I work on projects with, and the people who remind me of all of the good parts of being alive. And so sometimes I'll have an idea for a painting, and then it'll be like, oh, like these people are in this living room, and these people have never met before, but like I care about all of them, and so they get to exist together in this space. And it's this funny like prefigurative thing where it's like, maybe this hasn't happened, but here it is existing, and so it can exist again, which is a fun way to think about things. And also going through my catalogs of research and pictures, that means that I can kind of pull pieces from different spaces that are significant to me and to the people who I love, and then like create like a richer composition like from all of these small pieces. And so it's like, maybe I don't have room to put like 80 different people into something, but I can have like the tile floor from this place or that these people live in, and I can like, I don't know, compose all of these funny little things. I put together some pictures of paintings that I've been working on. At the start of COVID, it was really, really hard for me to paint or make any art. I feel like as people who translate the world through like visual language, we're required to kind of like open ourselves up to things, and a lot of what was happening and felt just really overwhelming and oversaturating. And I was also feeling a lot of panic at the start with ideas around like food scarcity and things like that, like having grown up hungry. And so my housemates and I started farming, and that felt like a really wonderful thing to do when you can't really leave your house. And it was really nice because it forced me to be outside and felt like undeniably useful. And like I got to learn all of these different things about the plants and the soil and where I live, and also got to share things that I was growing with my neighbors and with my friends. I wasn't able to paint for a long time, and then that felt pretty terrible because I think sometimes when I'm working on something, I'm like, maybe this won't turn out. Maybe this will be the last thing that I ever make, which I hope is normal. It's so far, I haven't made any of the last things that I'll ever make, knock on wood. But I'm going to show some of the paintings that I started doing back in May, which were really small studies. So This was the first painting that I did in May. This is my neighbor Onyu and her parents' dog Lucille. And this was the day that we, like the 4 houses next to each other, we all like communized a lawnmower. And because our landlord, who owns all of our houses, was constantly like sending us mean text messages about the grass being too long and needing to pay someone. And so we all threw in like $20 or something, and we were able to get a lawnmower. And we were trying to figure out how to use it. And this is Onyu's brother, Wiro, who is looking at the manual. And I got really excited because I was like, oh my God, I want to paint. And so I was like, I don't have any attention span to help you figure out the lawnmower. I'm going to go paint pictures of you instead. And they're really wonderful and understanding. And this is a painting of my friend Brandon. This is from our chicken Zoom, our chicken coop Zoom. I also got chickens over the quarantine. And so we were texting each other excitedly about that. Here's a picture of my friend Sasha on the screened porch. And these are all about like maybe 6 by 9 inches. And I imagine them as studies for larger paintings. But they felt really nice to like actually be making something again. This is my housemate, Jessie. We spend a lot of time in the yard when the mosquitoes aren't too bad. Hopefully yard time will start up again soon. This is a birthday cake that I made for my partner, whose birthday was right before George Floyd's murder. And yeah, here's my neighbors who are farmers, and they're singeing the ends of the poppies. Poppies are really, really delicate, and so singeing them right after you cut them will help them last slightly longer. And then here's a painting of my friend Stephanie and her son Theo, and Theo smelling some hydrangea. This is, I think, my only, oh no, I guess the picture of Brandon also is a COVID mask painting. All right, so this is another painting of some friends. This was from, I think I did this painting either at the end of last year or at the very beginning of this year. But this is Yunhua, Chanel, and Onyu outside of Videodrome. And there's like the different flyers and things that are outside there and all the little videos. These are some of the drawings that I did for the show at the High Museum. This was an interesting thing because all of my paintings are super colorful, but when I do reference drawings or anything, they're never in color. If they are, that's just because that's the color pen that I had. Let's see, here's another one. And this was like a recent self-portrait of my room and all of my plants. Does anyone have any questions? I realize that there's like 10 minutes left and I don't want to just ramble on.
Are you using oils or acrylics or gouache or?
I kind of use whatever I have. A lot of my paintings are acrylic and oil. So I'll paint in acrylic first. And then when I was in high school, I was given a big bag of oil paints from one of my teachers. And I used those for years and years and years. And then I also inherited my grandparents' paints. So I have a lot of oil paints that are probably not allowed to be made anymore because of their chemical makeup. But yeah, I use those. Sometimes sometimes I'll use some oil crayons. Sometimes I'll use pencil on the paintings. Anything else?
You mentioned this is your first studio, so all of your work previous to studio space has taken place where?
In my bedroom, on my bedroom floor, usually. And now that I am not 12, it's kind of painful for me to sit on the floor with all of my paint spread out. But yeah, it's really nice having a chair and being able to set up my easel. And At my house, there are 5 cats. There's 5 cats and there's 6 chickens. The chickens are obviously not inside the house, but it's nice to have space to spread out.
Do you think having that extra space will affect your end product? Will it get bigger? Will it get smaller? Will it get...
Well, it's definitely easier to work on larger paintings. So I'm working on, I don't know what size this is. I'll show it to you. It's very unfinished, but here's a painting. It's this big. And that would be really hard to work on my bedroom floor. It's really nice. I've actually never had the room to even spread out all of my paints at once and see what colors I had. So I did like a very Pinteresty looking thing where I like color coordinated all of my paints. And I was like, oh, wow, like look at all of these greens. Because usually it's just kind of like rustling around in a bag that has some paint in it and then being like, all right, this is close to the color that I wanted. I'll use that. And then trying to shoo the cats away from like making biscuits on the painting or something.
We have a question that came in the chat that is, what artists inspire your work right now?
What artists are inspiring my work? I feel really inspired by a lot of my friends that are making work. Like Nam is a close friend, and her work is so thoughtful and like feels really light and fun, but is actually like really heavy. And like she also really loves cats. And so there's lots of like these little drawings and paintings of cats, but then you'll read the title and it'll kind of like knock the wind out of you. Right now at Hilo, there's a show up by 2 friends, Malik Jalal, who I've known for a few years and who I think is extremely brilliant, and Rosa Duffy, and they did a body of work that are collaborative sculptures, doing metal work and resin, and that shows up through the end of the month for anyone who's in Atlanta and wants to see it. You can message me on Instagram on the Hilo page and I'll meet you there. Who else's work have I been thinking a lot about? There's a Vietnamese artist whose name I can't remember right now, but her Instagram handle is Chom Wears Dress, and her work is extremely beautiful, and she does silk paintings that just, I don't know, they're extremely captivating. So yeah. My Instagram is Platonic Youth.
Dianna, you were mentioning that you were originally a printmaker, and your first foray into painting was not as successful. So how do you feel about painting now? Is it liberating? I mean, I know you still have a pretty strict printmaking kind of discipline, but you're a painter.
I'm both. So I feel like painting is like still a largely like unknown frontier for me. Like there are things that feel probably really basic to people with like a formal education or training in it. But like it took me a very long time to realize that there are different types of brushes for different types of paints. And so I would like use the same brush for different things and then get really frustrated when it suddenly doesn't work, because I didn't know that there are things that you look for when you're using oil paint versus acrylic. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of slowly like gaining a grasp on it, like a little bit more. Like it's all pretty undetermined. I don't know. It's good. It feels good that there's lots of exploration. Does your tattoo practice play into your practice? Yes, I also do tattoos, and I've been trying to use drawing Flash as a way of just like practicing drawing things and like being more comfortable with rendering different gestures and practicing proportions and things like that. I think all aspects of like what we all do informs all aspects of what else we do. Like I feel like learning how to work in the garden informs it, like going on walks, riding my bike, hanging out with my cats, listening to music, all these things kind of like play into how I relate to everything else. And those things kind of find their way into whatever it is that I'm working on. Thank you for watching this and tuning in.
Dianna, when is your show at Mint again?
It's in the end of February. And then the show at Institute 193 is in June. But I don't know the particular dates.
Excellent. Enjoy the beautiful day. And thank you.
Be safe, everyone. Thank you so much.